All hail the mighty, my friends, and welcome to the showdown between the Vampire Coast, who shall be led by Luther Harkin with his badass eye patch. And today, guys, we're going to be facing off against a Skaven who shall be led by a filthy rat known as Lord Skrolk. So as far as the build goes, you guys can see it's going to be pretty wild. We have 4 cannons, 2 gunnery mobs, and 2 handguns. So we're going to be unleashing a torrent of fire on these filthy Skaven. But we'll see if it's going to be enough to stop their onslaught. They got Jezzails, they got Rattling Gunners, they got Doomflayers, all sorts of scary stuff. Now, as far as the build goes, front line's going to be zombies, obviously pretty standard against Skaven. I don't really think you need Depth Guard or like elite troops here, so the standard zombie power deckhand mobs can really do the trick. These guys get in there, they can fight clan rats and Skaven slaves, they cause fear, which is useful, and yeah, they just tarp it. 8,640 HP. Let's actually see how much that is compared to these rats. 6.4 on Skaven slaves and 7.2 on clan rats. Clan rats actually have quite a bit. So it's going to be zombies in the front line. In the secondary line, it's going to be our handgun core. So we have these zombie pirate gunnery mobs with handguns, and I believe one is going to be the Black Spot. Black Spot is a good inclusion in this matchup because oftentimes the Skaven will be rushing your backline with like rat ogres, and sometimes you'll have like monstrous pressure from like hell pit abominations. So having like a halberd unit essentially on top of your gun line is pretty helpful. So that's going to be it here. We do, of course, have the Vampire Caster for Invocation and Drowned Dead. But the real core of the army, the real bread and butter is going to be 4 Carronades. So this build is actually really good against Skaven because one of the main ways to punish like a style of play like this that's very wide with cannons is to have a fast army, right? So imagine if there was like Reavers or Dark Riders or anything else getting into the back line here. It would be a nightmare to defend it because I have 4 guns to defend, 4 cannons, but Skaven are a very slow faction. And I think people have realized, and we actually saw this a lot in the Eternal Challenger League, that people would come in with Skaven and then Vampire Coast would come in with like 4 cannons and just go deep on the Skaven army. So certainly has some potential, right? Jezzails have 330 range, Carronades have 400 plus, I believe, 450. So we can actually outrange the Jezzails, shoot them down. We can shoot down hell pit abominations, rat ogres, rattling gunners. There's just so many good targets in this Skaven roster for cannons. And you can see here our first cannons, all 4 of them are shooting the hell pit abomination, and they get a massive amount of damage on this bad boy. So he's taking quite a bit of work there. So yeah, there's tons of targets. The Natty Boo Boo sharpshooters are a little bit sneaky because they do have the stock ability. So what we have to do against them, however, is get some Fellbats or some Scurvy Dogs and kind of scout them out and then shoot them down from there. So anyways, for the rest of my force, I have Luther Harkin up on his Terrorgeist. He's just so good at assassinating Skaven targets. And basically, you use the cannons to kill the Jezzails and the Rattling Gunners and the things that can actually threaten Luther. And then from there, Luther just goes ham. He can hunt down the Lords and kill them in a matter of seconds. He can kill Hell Pit Abominations with his gun and cycle charging. He can go after Rat Ogres. He causes terror. He is just Luther, I think, after the nerfs to summons, is the best lord for the Vampire Coast. He just brings so much to the table. Kiting, armor-piercing gun, armor-piercing attacks. He has good debuffs. Magic resist in this Skaven matchup is actually pretty useful, and Luther does have an ability here. Let me show you guys. It is called the Magical Void, which I cut it in most matchups, but in the Skaven matchup, it's good because of Libra Bonicus, which is often used on Luther Harkin, your lords and things like that. So having that 33% ward save there is really, really good. So that's it for my army. We do have some Fellbats and Dogs, and for the Skaven force, pretty standard stuff. It's going to be Skaven Slaves, Clan Rats in the secondary line, 1 Wild Doomflayer, which is cool. It's kind of a niche pick against like a Depth Guard, for example. He's got Jezzails in the back, which I like as well. Jezzails are always good. Hell Pit Abomination just in case I want like a Crab Rush or something like that, because, you know, sometimes Vampire Coast does rush Skaven with Crab Rush builds, and I think that's kind of one of the standard builds, and the other one is kind of like what I'm bringing here. So Hell Pit Abomination for that, Clan Rats with Spears in the back, Rat Ogres, Skrolk Daddy going to be coming in with his summons and his good items, of course, and it looks like the Teeth Breakers are going to be up on the high ground. Nice play here. Look at them, just warp jumping, just OP stuff right there with that lag. But they do have the Concealment Bomb, so this can make them stalk, and, you know, I can't shoot them right now, which is quite good. So let's get this show on the road, guys, and have some fun and see if we can fend off the Skaven onslaught. So firstly, the cannons are going to be shooting in. I was going after the Hell Pit, but as soon as I started taking fire from the Jezzails and some of those other really nasty threats, I will be switching my firepower onto the Jezzails. And you can see the first volleys are going to be coming in here on these bad boys, and I believe I'm now focusing down this Jezzail group. Yeah, you can see down to 14 models, and I have 4 cannons shooting them. It is going to be very, very punishing here. Now on the front line, you can see the Doomflayer did try and get in there a little bit greedy for sure, ahead of the rest of the army. So I do get Luther Harkin. I intercept. He causes terror. He hornswoggles this thing. So it's funny, hornswoggles like trick someone, so he basically tricks his flare with some sort of a pirate witchcraft. But we are able to fend that guy off, and you can see my gun line is going to be shooting in against these Clan Rats who do have an opening here. So we have a bit of a kill box, but nonetheless they are shielded, so good value for my opponent. In the meantime, we're trying to get our dogs in, but my opponent here actually has some really good micro. He's been using the Clan Rats, and I keep trying to juke him out and get up and around, but he keeps screening out with the Clan Rats. So we have an opening here, but look at that. He falls back behind his spears. Great play from my opponent. I love it. This game I was actually having a lot of problems getting onto his goodies back here. But in the front line, you can see a lot of his troops are being taken out. The Clan Rats and the Chaff units are being punished, and Luther Harkin has taken out the Doomflayer. Now, Bonspire is actually pretty even, surprisingly. We've done a lot of damage, but the Skaven are now here. He's summoning Plague Monks, he's doing summons with Skrulk, which will be pressuring into my gun line, and the Teethbreakers here are able to peel off the doggy, so the Scurvy Dogs get suppressed, therefore they then get caught by the Rat Ogres, because they only have 61 speed, so the Ogres can get them, and I'm still trying to juke with these Hounds, but he's doing a really good job with his Ogres, kind of screening, but finally it looks like we might get into the cookie jar and be able to go after the Teethbreakers. Now if we take a big old look at the front line, it's a little bit of a messy affair. Plague Monks and summoned Clan Rats and just a lot of pressure coming in, and now my guns are a little bit compromised, but Luther Harkin does see the Terrorgeist, or excuse me, the Helped Abomination, which we have been focusing with the cannon for most of this game, so he's going to come in and just punish this thing. Libra Bobonicus going down, but again, we have that 33% save on Luther, which is great, so he's not going to be taking that much damage compared to normal. So the Helped Abomination has fallen. No point to really stay here and fight the Skaven Slaves with spears, and we have gotten some zombie summons back here, I think, or no, those are regular zombies, to actually go attack the Teethbreakers. So now that the Teethbreakers are kind of open, and we're just methodically working through the high-value Skaven targets, we're going to get all our Carronades and just go in deep on these guys. So they're going to be shooting the Teethbreakers and the Jezzails back here, who are also tied up by Felbats. So yeah, you can see the Jezzails taking a pounding from those cannons. Good stuff there. Luther Harkin, in the meantime, going to be going after another target here, so we're going to be finishing off the Rat Ogres. Granted, I probably should have gone after Skrulk Daddy, but I figured Skrulk would kind of over-pursue back here, and my guns could maybe take him out. You can see a little bit of fire coming in, but Luther, I don't know, I totally just slipped my tongue there, but Luther Harkin will be going back there to take out that filthy rat. Invocation of the Heck is going to be going down on Luther. I have a ton of Winds of Magic I've been saving for the most part for a greater portion of this game. The rat has been tricked, so he's been hornswoggled, and now Luther Harkin's going to be coming into the steel chair. This is pretty much like every Skaven player's worst nightmare. It's just like some big, like, Terrorgeist beast just coming in and mangling your lord. So Skrulk literally has like 18 melee defense against Luther, who's just a monster up close. And you can see Skrulk Daddy is going to be going down here, and his soul shall be feasted on by this Terrorgeist. So down goes Skrulk, he's shattered. And we are able to somewhat stabilize the back line, although there are going to be some Clan Rats coming back here to get on this cannon. So finally, the Rats are getting a little bit close to my back line, and there are some assets of their army that are stabilizing. He has the Teethbreakers back here, but it looks like the Jezzails are just being annihilated by the cannon fire. So Luther's going to be coming in to try and peel off these Clan Rats, so hopefully it will be pretty good. You can see he's going to be cackling up there, just kind of playing with his eye patch a little bit as he does swing in here. And these Rats most certainly in a bit of a mismatched situation, as Luther Harkin is going to be coming in here, and he's going to be dropping some bows on these Rats, to say the least. So his pistol's going to be shooting as well, and for anyone who doesn't really know how Luther works, he has melee attack on his Terrorgeist, but also like he has something on a completely separate cooldown, which is his pistol shot. So he's going to be attacking, he's going to be shooting his pistol, which just hits like an absolute truck, and the Clan Rats are going to get peeled off, and the Carronade will be back online. Now the Rats are continuing to surge in. Skaven Slaves and a bunch of Chaff Troops are going to be pushing into my back line, and it looks like some Clan Rats as well, but the cannons are still shooting, and they're just doing a number on the Rat Ogres and Jezzails and Teethbreakers and other troops like that. I still have 3 cannons online and also a group of Zombie Power Deckhand mobs in reserve, so far so good, but it's actually been a pretty, good game despite the fact that I was able to get some really good high-value targets early. Teethbreakers are going to be coming back in, and I wonder what these bad boys are going to be shooting. There's a little bit of a jump again. I think perhaps I need to update my graphics drivers here. But the Teethbreakers with the concealment bombs, I actually can't see them, but it looks like they're going to get slapped with army losses before they do get in, so well played to my opponent. Certainly a very fun game, and man, that Vampire Coast build is so fun. I mean, it just unleashes hell on the Skaven. And I wonder what the best way for a Skaven to beat that would be. I mean, maybe just going super wide and kind of pressuring in. I mean, the Jezzails are pretty good. I think maybe keeping the Natty Bubo Sharpshooters would be good. And I actually have a build that I think might be pretty good against something like this, or just Vampire Ghost in general. But yeah, like had I gone with the Crab Rush, I would have been in big trouble. He would have had double Jezzails, Hell Pits, double Rat Ogres, the Teethbreakers. Like my Crabs would have just been pound town. And despite, Morngul's being stock, they would have been eventually exposed by the Clan Rats and just like gunned down. So I think that this build was a little bit better against, general Skaven builds. And, you don't have too many threats from the Skaven in your back line. Now, Skaven can get a little bit tricksy and bring like a Death Runner. Like a single Death Runner would have wreaked like unspeakable havoc on my back line. Like if he had waited and delayed, but I just think most people don't really want to invest in a Death Runner. It's an expensive unit, and like if they bring like a normal or I guess a rush build or a non-cannon build, the Death Runners are going to be super subpar against like zombie chaff because they're squishy themselves. So it's hard to say for sure, but I feel like that quad cannon build is really, really nasty. It just has so much work against Skaven. There's so many good targets, and you still have good battlefield control with it, like your Scurvy Dogs and your Felbats. In retrospect, I would probably honestly just cut the regular gunnery mobs and just get more Scurvy Dogs and more Felbats. I feel like that kind of pressure on Skaven is just so good. Yeah, it's a really competitive build, I think. I think it's quite good. And I think it was, who was it? Was it Zyphos using this build against Lotus Moon in the grand finals of the ECL? I can't remember, but there was something like this. His build might have been a little bit different, but I still think it's just so good. But yeah, my opponent's Skaven build, Alfredino, was a very nice guy, and he said he does watch the channel. So thanks again for watching, man. It was a great game. You played well. I just think that it was kind of a build thing, really. But as far as the builds go, let me show you a Skaven build I've been kind of theory crafting. Like, pre-ECL finals, I probably would have gone something like, with something like his. I probably wouldn't bring the Flare. I just don't think it's that necessary when you have Rat Ogres. But, something like this, right? Like, is pretty well rounded. You have the Jezzails against, bigger threats. You have the Helped Abominations, but the quad cannon is certainly, a pretty all-in build in that respect. So well played to Alfred, and let's go ahead and take a look at a build for Skaven that I think would be quite good. Now, I think Skaven and Vampire Coast are like two of the best factions in the game. They're both just so good. Skaven are just so powerful. But yeah, Skrulk's the right choice, I think. I think Skrulk Daddy is going to be great, and I think the summons are also the right choice. Just bringing those guys in, it's a lot of pressure on Vampire Coast. Now, aside from that, you just get a bunch of Skaven slaves with spears, just like he did. I think having a frontal rush of Skaven slaves is like really annoying. And shielded clan rats, I'm not sure if you need to pay for the shields, because like if they're focusing clan rats, like you're going to be okay in other respects anyways. Now, something I was experimenting with were Night Runner Slingers. These guys, I believe, do have the stock ability, and they're good against Mourngulls. They can sneak up on your opponent and really pressure into the cannon line and different stuff like that. So I think getting a couple of these guys would be really good. If they have Fellbats and Scurvy Dogs, these guys can do a lot of work as well. So maybe mix in, let's see, a couple of those guys, and then to kind of deal with like harass threats and things like that, we get the Gutter Runners. Man, look how much money we have left. This Skaven are ridiculous. Now, I do get the Sharpshooters. They're just such a good threat. Now, but the only thing is, if you can keep the Scurvy Dogs and other things away from the Natty Boo with Sharpshooters, I think you're going to be able to get pretty good value with them, right? Because they'll have stock, the cannons won't be able to counterfire them, and it's pretty good value there. I still think you need to bring Rat Ogres and like some big stuff, and we'll probably cut down like on the Skaven Slave Corps just to get another unit slot here. So bring Rat Ogres for sure. I think it's necessary for like backline protection and just having mass. Like, just in case they come with crabs. The Sharpshooters plus the Rat Ogres are going to be pretty good there. And, the Hell Pit pick isn't bad either. Like, yeah, it's still hard with quad cannons, but I mean, ideally you're going to have other pressure. So let's actually mix in a wild Death Runner. I mean, the Death Runner is okay against like Depth Guard and crabs because it does sunder the armor by half, I think. Yeah, 50%. Yeah, so that's pretty good. I mean, you can lower down the crabs. And then from here, I think I would like a Hell Pit. I still feel like it's a good inclusion. But now we're going to have a lot of pressure on their gun line. Like the Night Runner Slingers will take out the Handgunners, that'll take out the other threats. You have the Gutter Runners as well to kind of pressure around Death Runner in the rear Vanguard to pressure from there. And yeah, I think we need to kind of find a way to get the freaking Hell Pit Abomination. So Skrulk, there's probably some stuff we could cut. Plague Rash, lowering speed and vigor. I mean, vigor is not bad, but we can probably cut that. And then get the Hell Pit. I think a build like this could be really good. It's something I've been kind of theory crafting with. Might have a little bit of trouble against Scurvy Dogs, but you have Rat Ogres, you have Gutter Runners, you should be able to fend off Scurvy Dogs and Fellbats. Slingers will take out gun lines and can pressure cannons. You have Death Runners in the back to kind of pressure a little bit as well. And yeah, I don't know. It's something to try out. Just totally theory crafting, spitballing here. I haven't tried it myself, but maybe I'll grab some folks and give it a whirl. So guys, thanks again for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the game. Well played to my opponent, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.